Good afternoon, everyone. Your ability to get food is now further restricted. Dollar store is going to be closing an enormous amount of locations. We got the rice shortages in Japan. The corn sweat is causing extreme weather in the grow belts. China's pulling back and saying no more food exports. Everywhere you look, record floods across the planet, and your ability and mine to get food, unless you grow it, is going to be greatly diminished. It's going to cost you way more. That was the plan anyway. Food's going to get more expensive, so let's dive into it. And how do you protect yourself? And shout out, props to the egg maximalist that is sending this photo in here. Awesome. Now, what do you do with all those eggs? You're going to have to store them. Perhaps you can blend them up, put them in a freezer, keep them for later. But here, Typhoon Shanshan, strange. Look how it just goes right up and directly over the center of Japan. They've never had any kind of typhoon do anything like this before. Although it's not super strong, it is a record rain soaker over the entire island. Usually it passes over and it goes up to Korea, goes to China. It just doesn't do the entire length of Japan. It's more steered than natural. Let's take a look at Himware deep into the eye. And that eye is nearly the width of some of the islands in a greater part of the island chain of Japan, moving directly down the center spine. That is insane. Never seen anything like this. So you can expect crops to be lost. The reason I bring that to your attention is, why has Japan been hit with rice shortages? This is way before the typhoon. Soaring prices despite normal crops. And you got to read in, like, why are they having these shortages? Why are prices going up if everything's normal? They have an acreage reduction plan for rice production. Now, this is on purpose from the government to reduce the amount of acres, to raise the price of rice so everybody has to pay more. And they subsidize to give farmers a better possibility of economic prosperity. Okay, sounds good. Until you look at it, really diving in, Japanese government spends $2 billion, even more, in subsidies annually to decrease the amount of rice produced, thus going out of the way to raise prices and increasing the burden on consumers. And that bottom sentence, it's using taxpayer money to make consumers suffer. Yeah, we see this around the world. But I guess if you're in Gujarat after the cyclone passed over, crocodiles invade residential areas. I see food on the floor, steak on the hoof, as they call it. If you see a cow in a field, I see meat on the leg there myself. Walk right in, my friend. Now over to China, proposing new curbs on grain imports to boost local prices. Now, China exports a lot of grain, but they also import a lot of grain. So there's some balance in there, but they are saying from now, they're not going to import or export. They're just going to try to leave it and let the market take care of it and try to raise prices for these commodities, again, to give the farmers more money because they're all angry because they're not getting paid, and the world prices for food is the highest it's ever been, but the farmers are getting paid some of the lowest they've ever been paid. So JP Morgan and Citigroup now forecast 2 supersized Fed cuts this year. The stock market crashed in 2000 and 2007 after the first rate cut. In 2007, gold went up over 200%, more than doubling. Silver tripling, because gold is security in times of uncertainty. And Patriot Gold Group has an OP for Life IRA, where your IRA or 401k could be in physical gold or silver. No fee for life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Give them a call, 888-546-7020. And now on with the video. Yeah, figure that one out. Beijing asked importers to halt purchases of barley and sorghum. And what they want to do is ease domestic stockpiles and support farmers by driving prices up. Wait, what are the chances of 2 Asian nations doing this simultaneously? And we're starting to see a lot of mass fish die-offs here. This is in Greece, So when we start to see this 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, 10 time, 20 time, is it volcanic? Is there something going on? They say that it's, depleting of the oxygen in the water, but really what else is driving this? And speaking of globally, Dollar General is going to be shutting an enormous amount of locations. Shares dropped 26% on the biggest miss they've ever had since they've been listed on the market. And I shop at this dollar store too, because they just opened one in this small town where I live. It's about 1,000 people here. So instead of having to drive 25 minutes to go into somewhere a little bit larger, they have this thing just up the road about 3 or 4 miles from here. And, if they were to close that, they just opened it. So obviously that's part of their expansion plans here, but they're going to be closing a lot of other locations. Think about the stress that's going to put on people who used to or need to buy in a certain location at a certain price point, that it just disappears. It's like a food desert for the inner cities that we see a lot of times. Supermarkets just like, we're not staying there anymore. And they leave. Well, this is the same thing, but this is more of a rural type of store. Put that in perspective for a minute. So how many people this affect? And their ability to get food is going to diminish. That leaves them one option. Pay more, order it online, pay more, go get it somewhere else, drive, use more gas, spend more money to go get your food at a higher price at a different place. That's not a good formula for anybody. Which brings me to the corn sweat in central Illinois. I didn't know this was a phenomenon either. You got 3,000 to 4,000 gallons per acre evaporating out. So my question is, when there's a drought, where does it get replenished from? So this whole thing, the mechanics on this, I'm a little fuzzy. Because I understand hydrological cycle, but if the water disappears and you're in a drought, like how does it get refurbished? Huge amounts of 48 billion gallons a day, and it's affecting and twisting and amplifying anything that's in the sky, clouds, storm fronts, or whatever it is, tornadoes. So here's your number, 72,727, 7272. Hey, if you're into numerology, there's something there. Olympic pools per day, and dew point near 80, and you can see where that is with the corn sweat. Which brings me back to Hunga Tonga eruption, largest water vapor eruption ever recorded in human history, ever. That's an AH. You can see this from space, perfect curvature, but you can see how large that was. That blew it well up into the mesosphere, way above the stratosphere. That eruption went up about 89,000 feet. So if we look at it, massive Hunga Tonga eruption blasted enough water to fill, scratch my head, 58,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Now wait, hold on a second here. Hold on a second. You're telling me that the corn sweats 72,000 Olympic swimming pools per day, but the most massive eruption that we've had in 200 years, and probably in thousands of years for water vapor, was only 58,000 Olympic swimming pools. Okay, wait a minute. Somebody's math is way off here. That Hunga Tonga eruption added 14% more moisture to the atmosphere in a single event. And you're coming over here showing me that something's like a third higher on a daily evaporative off of corn in a drought area? Come on. We're drinking the Kool-Aid. Maybe we could have some ice in the Kool-Aid, because if you didn't know, back on August 20th, all these low record temperatures were set there. You see where it's real blue where it says 41 and 43 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit for the lows? Yeah, that was just last week. You wouldn't have known it, though. And if we swing out to the West Coast, by the way, in the exact same time on the 24th, not the 20th, a few days later, you look at that, it's 31 degrees below normal temperatures. Got to have the sweating corn excuse. Can't be anything else. Can't sweat it out, man. Push it, sweat it. Get into the lotus position. You need to sweat out the toxins. Imagine if you could sweat out the glyphosate. Ultra-processed foods are so bad for you. Wait, what's the date on that? January 9th, 2023. This is from Time Magazine. They just blast out this terrible ultra-processed, so bad. And then suddenly, what if ultra-processed foods aren't as bad? Like, wait, what's this? Scratch my head. What's that? August 27th. Just wait a minute. So I'll put these two side by side. They're written from the same magazine. Different author, though. But you can clearly see it was an obfuscation of, we got to jump on top of somebody else's news releases because they're getting too much press, and we got to say that ultra-processed food's super good, baby. Farmer, when I was a kid, what it looked like. Farmers, what they look like now. And while we're at it, let's read the green slide together. Wondering why food prices are so high? Perhaps it's because 4 companies control 85% of beef processing, 80% of corn seed distribution, 77% of fertilizer production, and 69% of grocery sales. You think they could fix prices maybe? So there it is, 1/5 of 1/8 of 1% of the stories of the week that could explain away why some of your food prices are getting more expensive and why that ability for you to dive into the stores at a nice price point is going to disappear. It already is, so we've seen our food run up. So are you ready for that? You're going to have to grow some of your own. Don't worry, Autumn Gardens coming in right now. And check out the free webinar from Marjorie Wildcraft, Homegrown 2030. I got that link in the description box below. Look for the little mater. Click on that link and she gives an hour-and-a-half webinar on how to set up raised bed gardens and an enormous amount of other can-dos right now to get your food production up super fast, because that's what it's going to require to move through the madness. I do appreciate you watching. Hope you got something out of the video. See you next time. Bye for now.